Hello everyone. Welcome back to another Premiere Pro challenge right here on Adobe Live. I'm Evan Abrams, and I'll be challenging you today to make use of some of the new features in Premiere Pro. We're going to be creating some interesting graphics today. I know there's been a lot of spooky things on streams today, but my stuff is a little bit more in the thriller genre, I suppose. We're going to be looking at a kind of classic title treatment. This is the most requested thing that I ever get asked whenever I'm talking about things in Premiere. So hopefully you're going to enjoy this. Hello, Umacorn. Hello, Mike. Annika holding it down on the boards. Hello, everyone. If you have any questions, have any quandaries, please do let me know in the chat. I'll try to help you out. And if you create something with what we do today, we always want you to share it with us. Come on over to the Discord and share with us what you make. I want to see it. And if you're able to tag me in those posts, I'll definitely get them. So let us begin with our challenge today. We'll see what we're working with. If you want to get your hands on the files that I'm using, there's a link in the description for that as well. All right, so we're going to come into the screen here. There we are. Also, if you are observing this on YouTube, we want to see you over on Behance. Come and let me know what troubles you, what you're doing, who you are, where you're from. Hey, RB, how you doing? And here's what we're creating today. This little buddy here. Just gonna press play. Ooh, we see the title coming up. Then we see footage inside of that title, and then we push into that title, pushing through the letters, and they dissolve to what would be our opening or establishing shot of a film, right? In this case, I guess it's about a sinister beach. Maybe it makes people old. Ooh, scary. And the way I've got this set up is this is our initial shot right here. We're able to slide that back and forth to alter the timing of this. So if we wanted that fade in to start earlier, we can easily push this forward, right? And so that's got it starting a little bit early, right? If we wanted this to happen later, I can slide this ahead and it will only begin resolving later, right? So being able to quickly slide this footage element back and forth, then it will give us that flexibility when it comes to dealing with these things. Now, the other thing that I think is important is I'm using a couple of just simple cross dissolves here to make all of these things happen. That means we're able to affect the timing really quickly right here on the timeline. So if you have quick edits you need to make, we just come in here and we say, oh, I'm going to double click on this and say, it's not going to take 2 seconds, it's going to take 3 seconds, right, for that, or 3 frames, or up here at the beginning, let's bump that to be, 2-second intro for this as the color block comes on. So that's what we're going to be creating. And, it is kind of reminiscent of older TV shows. It's definitely reminiscent of older movies. And the technique we're using is actually exactly the same, but digital. Ooh, bit of a tease there. So if we want to make this from scratch, how do we do it? Let's get started. Well, the first thing is I need to make a sandwich. Yum, yum, yum. And I'm going to start with just dragging out whatever the footage is onto our timeline, right? Whatever this first shot is. And now we want to cover this with some graphics. So of course, it's going to be some text. So I'm going to grab my text tool here and I'm going to just type out here, say title, whatever the title is, it doesn't matter. In the chat, let me know the titles of some aquatic movies that we might have this spooky season. And there we are. So we've got the word title out in the world. I'm going to just center that up, middle center that, and we're using Active Grotesque, extra bold, not the spookiest font, but we need something that's kind of chunky. Chunkiness is what we are after when we want to be able to see things, to experience them through the footage itself. Right? Blue Lagoon. Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take Blue Lagoon. And remember, it doesn't matter so much. It's not going to matter so much kind of the sort of composition of a lot of this stuff. Now we are going to be pushing into it, right? But we can make this card whatever we want, right? We can put a whole bunch of words out here. We can put a bunch of extra text. We can put more texts out here. We're going to cross that bridge a little bit later, but I am going to format this up here. Let's say, let's go something like 300 point, And maybe I need to kind of bring those lines together a little bit, maybe like this, just to pinch them together. Pinch them together like that. Oh, Batwatch, I like that too. Batwatch is good. Maybe we'll make one for Batwatch as well. All right, so we've got Blue Lagoon out there, and this is currently not revealing anything. It's covering the exact spot that I want to reveal. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go here. I'm going to say new layer, give me a new rectangle. Ooh, there it is, a nice black rectangle. And you can fill this with whatever color you want, whatever you want sort of the area outside to be. And we're just going to go with matte black for this. And we are going to expand it out. We'll expand it out to be sort of larger than the frame. And we've got it filled up. And now we will simply take Blue Lagoon here, and we are just going to say mask with text. Now, it's not exactly what we want. We need to come down here also to invert. So what we've created essentially at the core of this whole thing is we've taken like a big piece of cardboard and we've just cut our text out of it. There's nothing more complicated than that. It's exactly the same as if we took a piece of vinyl and cut the text out of that, or if we were taking a little bit of masking fluid and then removing this here and then shooting a plate of our footage through that, right? So we've got this thing and we're able to now observe through it. So at this point, we're actually pretty much halfway there. The sandwich comes from taking a color matte, which we can create over here in our project by going new item and then color matte. And then we want to select the same width and height and frame, the time base, same frame rate as whatever the sequence is. Definitely same pixel aspect ratio. Just make these settings the same as your sequence. Go ahead and hit OK. And let's pick we're going to pick like a red color. Very, very spooky, scary blood color. And we'll go like that. Let's call this red, right? And we can come back and modify this at any time. If you want to modify your color mattes, just double click on them and you can pick a new color, which we will be enjoying in a moment. So I'm going to create that sandwich, right? We're going to take this and we're going to drag it below here. And I want this sandwich to be as large as this. And so if we didn't have this footage in between, we are going to see the matte layer through this other layer that we've cut the holes in. So really, all we have to do now is I'm going to go Command D, set my default transition, which for me is the cross dissolve. Let's give us kind of 3 seconds on that so that what's happening is the back plate here, right, is coming through, right? That part is showing up. Now, the movie is called Blue Lagoon, so let's just go ahead and make this blue, shall we? So we'll go like that, right? So now it's a nice, nice absolute chroma blue coming in like that, right? And now, we need a cross dissolve on this layer. So again, Command D, let's cross dissolve this one in. Let's give it a nice long 3 seconds for it to show up. And we want to figure out, how long do we look at this before that starts to fade into this, right? So we want to try to work those details out. How long do we want to hang out with that? And we can stretch out graphical layers and matte layers as long as we want. We've got infinite time on those. So let's go through that again. We'll watch that back. Blue Lagoon. Bwah, bwah. Ooh, and now it's getting nice and blue back there. Wonderful. And then what we're going to do, let's say you just wanted to fade the card off, right? We can just go Command D on the end of this. Set its duration. Let's give it a nice a long way out like this. And now this is one version of the look that you might want, right? What's up, Brooke Shields first movie? I am not familiar with Brooke Shields stuff, but the important thing with this is that let's say we come in and we want to change the name of this thing, and we're going to come in and we're going to change the name. Double click on that. I believe it was Batwatch was the suggestion. I love it. I love a good pun. And it's just that easy to change these elements. However, what I would like to do with this we want to use generally a title that is really going to fill up the space, right? I think Lagoon was a good one. Let's just call it Lagoon. Now it's a French film about hockey. But no, we are going to stick with this. Now, ideally, there's something kind of in the middle that if this got large, would be like moving into that thing. So that's why generally, you know, things that have 4 letters, right? We could probably fly into the T of this, right? That might be the way to go. So let's go ahead and kind of line that up like this. And so what I want to do is I want to scale up this element as we kind of move into it. Now, there's a few things that we can do to that. If we wanted to modify any of the movement of this stuff, we want to come over here to the effects controls. If you don't have that open, you can go up to Window and grab your effects controls. And here's how you would access your essential graphics. If you don't have that window open here, we can also go into our workspaces and we can grab the captions and graphics workspace. We can be enjoying all these wonderful things open for us. So what I want to do is have this scale up over the entire time that it's here with us. So I could come into the text and I could twirl and find the transform, grab the scale, and ooh, it's scaling up, but it's definitely coming from the wrong spot. Right? Now, why would that happen? Well, that's because everything scales from its anchor point. And in the case of text, the anchor point lives at the baseline until you move it somewhere else. However, if you're creating a more complex plate and maybe we are going to have some other text in here, and that text is going to be, I'm just going to put the word the out here, the water, and we wanted to combine these. Let's see, let's go ahead and make the word the much smaller, down like this. I'll grab my direct selection so I can move that around. And if I want this to behave exactly the same way, we have to say mask with the text and also please invert. So now we've got these two things cutting holes through the third thing, right? So chop, 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 which is great. And I want this whole thing to scale up. So this is when I would recommend you come up here to where it says vector motion. So if we twirl into vector motion, then you see that this bounding box here over our whole frame, right, is basically the entire graphic. And it's coming out of right in the middle center. So I'm going to set a keyframe on scale. I'm going to move ahead to sort of the end, and we're going to scale this up quite large. I don't know. Let's go like 700 and some. And so if we go through here, we're going to scrub through, and you're going to see it's coming right at us, right? Because we're scaling up, and it feels like we're scaling up, you know, like it's coming at us because we're scaling from that middle center of the image. And that's what causes that kind of feeling. Now, what I want to do is on this first one here, I'm going to right click this first keyframe. I'm going to say ease out. We want to ease out of that keyframe. And so that means we're going to be sort of coming off to a slow start, and now it's coming at us, and it starts to dissolve as it gets closer to the camera. Now, if you wanted this to be sort of scaling all the time, then you would probably want to work that out kind of like this. And you may want to actually not scale it, you know, so big towards the end, or you want to twirl into the scale and you want to adjust these particular curves here. So I'm going to grab this velocity curve and just give that a bit of a pull. Ooh, oh no, there we go. And so we're going to give that a pull like that, so it has a more concave instead of convex thing. So it's going to start off going much slower, and now it's picking up speed. Oh yes, it's starting to fade as we've hit the edges of the composition, and now we can see through it. And as the words are getting obscure, then it starts to fade away. So by dealing with this motion curve in here and working up these timings, this is going to be working. Now, question about keyframes. There are many different shapes of keyframe we can have. So these are eased. If you right click on them, you can see you can change them to linear, or you could change them to Bezier, which gives us the handles to manipulate. You can change them to hold, which is going to cause them to be just totally locked until they hit the next keyframe, and then it'll move like steps. And excellent quandary. on the keyframes. You can also do continuous Bezier and auto Bezier, different ways of the handles interacting. I like to come in here and just say, hey, ease out or ease in. Now, this is important and a bit of a tangent, but remember that when you say ease out to a keyframe, we are easing out of that value. When we say ease in, we're easing into that value. So even though this is the first keyframe and it is at the start, we are still easing out of that value. Okay, I'm gonna move that to be, I'm gonna move that to be like around here so that we have some time enjoying the word the water, and then it changes over and then it starts to get big. Now, what if, I'm just being hypothetical here, what if this particular title, this is the speed we want it to come at the camera, but we don't really know how long we want to linger on reading the title before it starts to come at us, right? Well, come over here. I want you to come over here to the very edge of your effects controls. And I want you to try to grab a hold of the little blue bit that's over there. And what we're doing is we're dragging out what's called a protected region. So we are now protecting this region of the animation. So if I go ahead and grab this edge here, and hopefully you can see that as I pull this away, that protected region is remaining the exact same size. And that means that that animation, right, is going to take the same amount of time no matter where that happens to be. That's just how it's going to go out. And that means that we're able to slide this around. So we're able to create more control over our periods of stillness and then our periods of movement. So this is super important when we're thinking about flexible design in our titles and stuff like this, so that we're really able to control when this stuff is happening. How long do we linger there? I don't want to be coming in here and fiddling with more keyframes than I have to. If I know this is the timing that I want for this thing to go, I want to protect that region with those protected regions. So those are great features to try to work those things in. So far, what do we got? We got titles, right, that seem to show up. And then those titles turn into the water itself. Now I'm going to pause right here. That's quite a color change that we experience going from the extreme blue to the more naturalistic blues. So like I said, we can always update the color of our matte layers. And I would recommend you do, especially for something like this, because it helps to have, or to start with, a color that is actually very dominant in whatever the footage is that we're covering up. It can be just a nice way to harmonize these two ideas together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here to this object. I'm going to double click on it, double clicking on the big color of the matte, and then we can just grab the eyedropper tool, and then we can come out to the footage and you can pick a color right out in the water. So maybe I want to pick something that's like right in the choppy foam of the waves. We're going to go like that. And so now we can see that it shows up as this color that is in the footage that's underneath it. So then when it transitions to this next kind of phase here, it's less jarring to go through that. Now, speaking of things that are less jarring, you may want to even really kind of tighten up that fading away as that's coming at us. Try to make that feel a little bit more natural. But now we've got a pretty basic instinct on how these types of titles. I don't know if this type of title is used in Basic Instinct. Please do not come at me for that. But this is a wonderful little bit that you can add to your projects. Now, next thing I want to say, we've created this wonderful sandwich. It doesn't have to be in this order. It's not necessary that they be in this order. What is necessary is that we're able to fade between sort of these two ideas. So if we wanted instead for the order to be something like this, then we would simply need to be fading away this part here. I prefer to say make a sandwich because that is the most helpful way for me to remember how these things work. But this is a perfectly good way to do it as well. And I'm going to show you why that might be a sort of useful way to look at these types of things. what if, for example, I know we're coming into kind of a turbulent, choppy waters underneath this text. So what we could do is I'm going to go ahead and on this layer, I'm going to come into our effects. I'm going to grab a ramp that I'm going to apply onto this like so. So now we've got a ramp going on behind. And if I just remove, if we just stop kind of looking at that top layer, we're going to see that ramp in here. And I'm just going to change sort of the start and end of that ramp. So we're using the effects to do this. And we can also do this in the Essential Graphics if you want to make a rectangle with this. We'll touch on that in a little bit. But I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to come into here and we're going to grab sort of some blues. So let's go with that type of a blue, and then we're going to come down here in kind of a bright, much brighter blue like that. Okay, now we'll observe this. So now this is, you know, the water part. Well, I'm going to come back into our project here. I'm going to grab another instance of this out here. And let's see, let's just tighten this up a little bit. So I'm going to zoom in here. Let's see, let's tighten here. Let's loosen there. And on this one, I'm going to apply another ramp. Why not? Let's just go ahead and drop another ramp onto there. Right, and let's go ahead and give this, I don't know, maybe like some purples. I don't really know. We're being wacky with it. We're having a time. You know, we're doing whatever we'd like, right? So now I've got a couple of purples going on, and maybe I'll have that kind of show up like this. So those are definitely two different things. Well, let's cross dissolve between them. So we're going to do a little cross dissolve here, and let's make this a nice kind of lengthy cross dissolve like so. So that's feeling good. Make sure that this is nice and lengthy off the jump. So we're coming in like this, and then that's going to cross dissolve to another kind of color situation, and then that's going to dissolve sort of to the next thing. So you can sort of be intermixing a whole bunch of stuff here in behind, right? Mixing and dissolving and doing things behind this. So it could be just a confusion of footage that you put back here. We're using just simple color mats and gradients. You're doing all kinds of stuff back here, and you would be well safe to do that. And then finally dissolve that away. And then you get into whatever the next kind of shot is. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag that out so we've got time looking at the water, and then we're going to move in. Now, the last thing that I want to say about this type of a thing is would have been great if we actually went in towards the T, right? Wouldn't that have been great? Well, we can manufacture that actually quite simply by coming up here and grabbing the anchor point. You can see that it's right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag it over a little bit to be in the middle of the T. And I hope it's close enough that we don't really notice. Yes, we're moving directly into the T as it takes up the whole space. So it's that easy to try to figure out this type of thing. Just remember that the anchor point, the further away from the middle we get, sort of the less natural this kind of movement might feel. If you find that it feels, you know, a little bit much, what you can do is, as this thing is actually scaling forward, keyframe the anchor point here to be moving to that spot, right, from the middle center, and that will hopefully disguise that. Now, I don't have much time to tell you, if you make some titles like this, we would like to see them. I want you to share them with me. So if you can, if you please, 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 please. Oh, also, you can type out new titles right in here. Anyway, we're getting distracted. I want you to share this with me. I want you to go Window, and I want you to pull up your Review with FrameIO panel, and I want you to go to Upload and say Active Sequence. I want you to upload this active sequence to your FrameIO. You're a Creative Cloud member. You've already got access to FrameIO. So please send it up there, give it a name, use a preset, send me the whole sequence, and hit Upload. And that is going to launch Media Encoder, and it's going to send this thing up to the cloud. And once you do, you're going to be able to share that with me. You can just share the link. You'll be able to grab a little thing. Let's see here. Oops, I must have not said okay. Hold on. This active sequence here. Whoop. And what you want to be doing is just share that with me. Now, you can share it with me a few ways. There are sharing options. You can either share for review, Or you can add me as a collaborator here. Add Evan Abrams to this, and I'd love to get it. So Frame.io, if you're not particularly familiar with it, it is a great service to be able to share this with people. So that'll help you share it with me. Share it with me on the Discord. We got links to the Discord there in the chat, and then we will have a look. I'll leave you some notes right on the frame, and hopefully that'll be useful to you. Now, so ends my challenge for you today, but I have another challenge for you tomorrow. I will be back tomorrow at the same time, 5 o'clock Eastern, to challenge you with some new features that are in After Effects. So I hope you come back for that. It's going to be a good time. The features we'll be using are more masking, but you may find them a bit more advanced in there. I am very happy for this new feature, the new track mats in Adobe After Effects. I'm really excited to show you how they work and how to get into them and how to make some really interesting things with that. So I hope you're able to join me for that. So until next time, stay creative and be kind to each other. And I hope I see you all around the internet. All right, bye for now.